Hello, everyone. It's Stephanie and Dr. Mike, and today we are going to be talking about what exactly is ketosis or a ketogenic diet.
And I'm going to be here to translate if there are any, hopefully, have him take it down a couple levels for us lay people, perhaps. So.
All right. Well, I think it is important to bring up some of the scientific aspects of this, and as Stephanie mentioned, she'll help to kind of rein me in.
Yes, yes.
She's good at that.
He's
All right.
brilliant and very scientific, and I love it. And every once in a while, I'm like, wait now, what?
You mean like every 30 minutes?
Well, yeah. But sometimes he will emoji it out for me. He'll give me the emojis. He's also really good at that, so we might do that. So I'll let you know when it might be kind of going over the head.
Okay,
so.
Good. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. I'm here for you.
All right, well, so what exactly is ketosis? Ketosis is a state within our physiology where we use an alternative fuel source. So most of us walking around, we're basically living on glucose or sugar. And we also have a sort of backup system within our bodies. They're called ketones. And these are actually a better quality fuel source, as it turns out, for the brain in particular, to glucose. So it's a backup, but it has properties which actually make it superior. We don't tend to see it much in terms of regular society because most of the food we eat is very carb dense. If you were in a situation where you couldn't eat, so if you were starving, you would quickly turn into ketosis within a couple days. Alternatively, if you choose different foods, things that are more fat dense, and eat enough of them, you can create a state of ketosis. That state is called nutritional ketosis, and what it means is that the ketones are circulating in your body at a higher level. Ketones are made pretty regularly, but at much lower levels. So things that bring it out are fat foods, and that's why it's commonly termed a fat burning state versus a glucose or sugar burning state. That's kind of a simplistic way of looking at it, and it is helpful in understanding, but the reality is what we want are the ketones. Ketones are made in the liver. They are made from fats, so in essence, it truly is a fat burning state. But the true, the actual source of energy is the ketone. There are 3 ketones in the body. They're similar molecules, but the most powerful in terms of its anti-inflammatory and signaling characteristics, which means that it has the ability to influence cells and what they do. In fact, it actually can influence our genes, is beta-hydroxybutyrate. And that's the key one. That's the one that we have the most interest in.
That's a ketone?
It's a ketone.
Okay.
Yes.
The
Beta-hydroxybutyrate.
Hydroxybutyrate.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's a very interesting molecule. It has diverse effects. It has the ability to lower inflammation in the body, and inflammation is at the root of all disease. It has antioxidant properties. It supports the mitochondria. Mitochondria are actually the little power plants within our cells, and they're often damaged from a variety of different conditions and drugs and all kinds of things. They're very susceptible.
Toxins, right?
Yeah. So they're kind of important, but they're also somewhat fragile. And ketones, beta-hydroxybutyrate in particular, can help revive them, regenerate them. So it's actually more than just a fuel molecule. It's almost like a hormone.
Interesting. And there's no way sugar can do that, like using a sugar source.
Sugar has kind of the opposite effects. And so if you look at a lot of different health conditions, one of the things that either brings on the disease or makes it worse is glucose levels in the blood. So diabetes is defined basically by how high your blood sugar is. If your glucose is greater than 125, well, then you would fall into the category of being a diabetic. But even at 124, there are problems. And in fact, one of the things we're most concerned about nowadays is Alzheimer's, and that is actually linked to glucose levels. The hormone that's responsible, or largely responsible, for your glucose levels is insulin. I think most people are familiar with that hormone. And part of the benefits of being ketogenic is you lower your insulin levels. But actually, you also lower, independent of insulin, your glucose. So you have 2 things that this particular style of eating does to your physiology that improves your health. They're similar in that the sense that insulin is a glucose hormone, but independently lowering both of them has its own individual health effects, and then together they're enhanced. So the ketogenic diet among its many benefits, is in particular for diabetics or those that are pre-diabetic, and it's one of the most common things we face in this country.
Exactly. Which leads to also, they're calling Alzheimer's like a type 3 diabetes even.
That's right.
Nowadays. So that's even in that same umbrella.
Absolutely. And so that's the impact on that part of the neurologic or brain aspect of our health. But then separate from that is the impact on other diseases. So for example, it's been found that ketosis is very helpful for epilepsy. In fact, there are children that have seizures that cannot be controlled with any known medication, and they go on a ketogenic diet and they don't seize.
Right.
It's pretty amazing.
And then also, most people know, but maybe some of us don't, that cancer also cannot survive a ketogenic diet.
That's right. So it's really interesting in the sense that tumor cells are less efficient than normal cells. And what I mean by that is that they ferment. So if you take a sugar molecule and you digest it inside your cell, you get a couple of packets of energy. They're called ATP if you ferment. Whereas if you use oxidative phosphorylation, which is more efficient, you get over 30 more packets of energy in comparison to fermentation. You get 38 to be exact. And what that means is that you have an advantage over the other cells if you're able to use oxidative phosphorylation compared to fermenters. Turns out most tumors are fermenters. And what's even more of a disadvantage for them is that with oxidative phosphorylation, that pathway can use proteins in the sense of amino acids, it can use fatty acids from fat, or it can use sugar from carbohydrates. So that is a flexible pathway, whereas fermentation is really confined to sugar. So if you eliminate carbs and of course sugar, the tumor cells starve, but your other cells can live on either fats or proteins, and they do fine. So just simply by changing what you eat, if you have tumors, the tumors will literally starve to death. And so that's why it's a really interesting and active area of research. And right now it's really focusing on brain tumors, but the possibility this can expand to other cancers is there, and it's a very active area of research.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's incredible the things you can do with food. It really is.
It is. Food, yeah. Food impacts a lot of things. You can enjoy it. You can enjoy it too much, and then it can come back and get you, or you can use it to propel and feed your brain and feel exhilarated by it.
And the thing that I think where we also want to really kind of point out is kind of the area where Stephanie is the expert, and that is our behavior and how our mind works. And anybody who's tried to lose weight, which is there anybody out there who hasn't, we all know what cravings are and how powerful hunger is. And these incredibly powerful motivators for us to eat make it impossible sometimes to diet. Well, if you think about the things that are going to give you that strongest addiction or desire within our food supply, the number one thing is sugar.
Sugar. More addicting than cocaine, they say.
Yeah, and if you look at prepared or packaged foods, it has exorbitant amounts of sugar, and virtually everything you buy has sugar in it.
Right.
Kind of makes you wonder, why is that happening?
Well, it sells a lot of sugary snacks.
Tastes good, so you want to buy it. So it's actually a very good business idea.
It's a very good business idea. We'll put a legally 9 times more addicting substance than cocaine in your product, and you'll sell it.
You will sell it. But the problem is, for all of us that are consumers, is that we're being bombarded by this, and it's very difficult to escape.
Very difficult. And even we know what we're supposed to eat, and it's sometimes impossible to pass up temptations,
Absolutely.
Cookies or whatever. We try to, we get into our strategies, but yeah, we try to avoid it, but I mean, sometimes even we can't, and but that's another thing, is understanding that that's a natural thing, and if you give into it instead of just like, oh, forget this whole thing, I'm not meant to lose weight, just to be have self-acceptance and compassion. That's very difficult. You've got big advertising companies advertising it to you in this way and packaging it in such a way. I mean, they have full-on scientists and psychologists putting all of this stuff together. So that's a lot. That's a lot for us to go up against. So if you cave every once in a while, like they're spending a lot of money getting you to do that. So don't be hard on yourself, but get back on it, and just baby steps too. The other thing we don't advocate is just upheaving your whole life and innovating the entire thing and changing. I'm never eating meat again. I'm only going to be in ketosis for the rest of my life, and then one of the other. So we do little changes at a time, and we'll work with what those can be, and it's exciting that little changes, both mentally and even in your diet, can really add up. Just as you downward spiral, you start to do a little bit worse, and that can get bigger and bigger. You can start your upward spiral kind of small, and then that, one thing leads to another, and you can build upon that too. And that's really exciting to see, really exciting to feel it, really exciting to see that in people. I love it. That's what keeps me coming back. It's a challenge for all of us, but it's really, really good to see. So one of the other things we talk about in this plant-based keto diet is doing some carb cycling. So it gives you a little bit of kind of cheat days. Like, we don't really want to call them cheat days, but like some carb up days or times, meals perhaps, that make you feel a little less like, oh, I'm gonna be in ketosis forever. So it's kind of, we're trying to make it work in real life. Busy people, knowing that it's really, really hard to not give in to cravings, and be disciplined.
I think that's kind of the key, is that, as you mentioned, cravings are real. Cravings are powerful. And if you completely deny that they exist, they're going to get you. And so we kind of build into this the fact that there are going to be cravings, and it's best to have a strategy to deal with them rather than to deny they exist or try this brute force cold turkey
white
approach.
Knuckle willpower.
Yeah, some people that works, but not for most of us.
Very small percentage.
Yeah, so by cycling, there's many benefits, and there's multiple reasons why you should cycle, but one of those is you kind of address or preempt those cravings. So if, for example, if you've got this just real problem with sourdough bread, right here, you can kind of build that in as part of your carb up, okay? So when you cycle and you anticipate it, it's more controlled. So it's the craving's not controlling you, you're controlling the craving, and that's a world of difference. And the other aspect is when you control it, that gives you one more opportunity to reward yourself. In fact, just the fact that you're here, you should reward yourself, that you're actually taking enough interest to listen to us talk about something healthy. You deserve a reward.
You do.
All right. We deserve a reward for doing this video.
We do. Because this can be uncomfortable, and we're doing a good job, I think. Are we doing a good job? Do you guys think we're doing a good job?
What do you think?
We're trying.